It's officially 4 o'clock, and for everyone's sakes and time, we're going to get started. My name is Annabella Pullen, and I am the president at College Broadcasters, Inc. Excited to host this session because a lot of times my own students are like, how do I do this? And we all have new students every year. And I guess sometimes rules can be difficult to read. They're all very detailed, but we wanted to provide some insight into the common mistakes that, that our committee sees when we're, reviewing the entries and stuff. We wanted to do something like similar to what we started a couple of years ago about conventioning 101, because it might be your student's first convention and it may be your student's first award season. Joining me, I have Stephen Hames, who's our awards coordinator, has been doing this for a long time. Chris Kepler and Galen Perkins, they're both part of our awards committee. Every year we review the different categories and, we look at the entries, and this is a real competition, and we want it to be so. We want to have many entries for each category. And so we don't just necessarily add every single thing under the sun. We look at what we get, and there have been instances where we're like, well, everybody is doing this category as a catch-all, and we can break out because we see enough entries in that catch-all category. And you'll see a couple of those on those entries, on those new categories that we're going to talk about. So I wanted to let Stephen just sort of do an overview of the competition, because he's been here far longer than I have, the importance of participating and the benefits of participating, and a little bit on the timelines and key dates and deadlines first.
All right. Good afternoon and good evening, good night. So, oh, wait, no, it's not the Truman Show. So, so welcome everybody. I hope y'all are all excited about this year's awards and getting started. For those of you who are new to CBI and learning about our awards, the National Student Production Awards is one of the major primarily college media competitions, but we're also serve high schools as well. The other big competitions are BEA's Festival of Media Arts, the CMA Pinnacle Awards, and then you have some regional awards on down from there. But we are very much dedicated to the broadcast side of media, being TV, film, radio, audio, video, all that in between. Doesn't mean that we also don't do through our websites more print affiliated stories or photography or anything like that. But we primarily serve on the broadcast side. With that, some of the things to kind of get you going here. Tomorrow afternoon, or actually just tomorrow, starting at midnight, is the opening of the awards submission window. It'll open tomorrow, and then it'll close on Thursday, May 15th at midnight Pacific time. So it'll be open starting tonight at midnight Eastern time, and then midnight, or technically I should say 11:59 p.m. Pacific time is when the submission window will close. So get your entries in there. So you have about a month and a half to submit your entries and to get it all in. So with that, some of the things about our competition is that we have, as Annabella said, we have 40 categories. We were adding 6 new categories this year. We'll go over those in a few minutes if you haven't heard about those already. With that, we have try to have at least 3 judges for every category that is judged. In October, November, after the convention and after the awards are presented, those who submitted will get feedback from the judges on what worked, what didn't work, so that you can provide that to your students and they can learn from that. And then also, we are one of the few countries that still provides competitions that still provides trophies to our winners, and not only just our winners, but our finalists as well. So if you are a finalist in one of the 4 finalists for a position, um, um, for the competition for a category, the winner gets our bigger trophies, and then our second, third, and fourth place get smaller trophies. So that is one of the benefits that we have as this competition, is that we still give out trophies, and then you also get certificates saying you're a finalist, and the students also get certificates saying that they're a finalist. So the station gets certificates, and the students get finalists. So one of the things to get started on is the eligibility requirements. So one of the things I want to talk about is that first, membership, and we'll go into how you work this, but CBI members get discounted entry into the competition. And for members, you either have to be either a department at a college, university, or high school, a student media outlet, and that means you can technically be a newspaper or a yearbook outlet or anything like that, as long as you do video or audio as part of you podcasts, you do news stories. Those are all eligible entries. And then so media outlets, and they can be either college media outlets or high school media outlets. If you're doing something for a private organization, if you are doing something, so somebody asked me about Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. If you're doing it primarily for that, or that's where you're doing it for, that's not eligible. If you do stuff and you are a student who has internships at a local radio station or TV station, that work is not eligible because you're doing it for another entry. If you happen to be one of the schools who provides live broadcasts of, I would say primarily D1 sports, and you use ESPN or work with ESPN or work with Fox or anything like that to broadcast, that's not eligible. Those are some of the things to know ahead of time. Um, Published dates. So part of the eligibility is our window. So our window for submissions that are eligible are from May 16th of 2024 through the 11:59 p.m. on May 15th. Anything in that window is eligible for submission. Um, and then again, the school affiliation, that's the key. It has to be affiliated with your work school. Um, some things to kind of prepare yourself as you're getting ready to get into this. Again, check the eligibility um, period. Make sure that what you've published, you've aired, and if it's been in a class or stuff, that it is completed within the eligibility window. Um, Stuff that was um, published prior and that is like re-aired during the eligibility period, that's not eligible. So if you did something that did air or is broadcast or completed for a class last year, but maybe it was edited or re-aired or whatever, that does not make it eligible. Again, it's first run eligibility. The only exceptions to this technically is website and social media, because that's content that's always updating, but you have to have current content within the last year. How do you figure out what's best? That's a loaded question, and all of us have subjective ideas of what is best, what is our quality. So for those of you, if there's students on here, consult your faculty advisor, run at least get their input, especially if they've been a part of CBI for a while. They kind of know a history of what works and what doesn't. So that's you're able to gauge what's a good submission, what's not a good submission, or what tends to work best in our competition. Um,
But
Again,
also, like, you can check our website, like, that's something that CBI has been doing forever, which you can check the the finalists, the winners on the award section from the previous years. So if you have a question about like what won, what do I measure my work to, that is a pretty good measure.
Yeah, so and exactly. So check out, we have clips from previous submissions that are on CBI's website. Um, One thing to note, and we'll get more into this in a minute, is noting the specific guidelines and rules and regulations for categories and just overall competition rules. Um, so that will hopefully help avoid confusion between the categories of what's to go in, and then also it'll help you with the technical specifications for what to upload. Um, so with that, let's get into the submission process here. So I'm gonna share. So one of the first places you can go to is CBI's website here. And this has the official entry announcement, and you can see all the information here, the pricing. If you had not heard, we raised the prices this year for the fees, for entry fees. It's now $25 per entry for CBI members. This will also include BEA, who is joining us this year. And then non-member entry fee is $80 per entry. And this is the benefit of joining CBI and becoming a member. You get that discounted rate and save some money there. You're not having to add all this money. Um, you can create your non-member account. You can register to become a CBI member. You can learn about our convention here. But then right in here, if y'all can see, is the submit for this year's awards. You can click that, and that will take you to the submission platform. And I'm going to show you, I have a separate window for that that's already prepared for us. And so I want to make sure we understand what's going on here. And that's not, there we go. There we go. So this, when you click there and get to the submission window, this is the platform. This is our platform for submitting for the awards. This is our homepage. This is the exact same information that you found on the CBI's website, and the exact same links. You have your rules up here on the top header here. You can come in, and it has all the specific rules for the competition, including, as you can see highlighted here, the $25, the entry, and how to pay. Note, since some of you cannot use credit cards or anything to pay online, and you have to do by check or purchase order, if that's the case, you have 1 week from the end of the submission window to have your checks postmarked or purchase orders postmarked for the your entries to be eligible for the competition. Anything after that gets disqualified. So that's an important note. If you're paying by check and purchase order, it's important that you get in there early and get that paid as quick as you can. But you have all the different rules here. I won't bore you with trying to read that verbatim to you. You can read through and learn all that. Categories. If you got questions on the categories, they are on the CBI's website. There is a PDF also located on there. But if you get there and can't pull it up real quick, come here to the categories. You have this drop down menu, and you can go here additional drop down menus show up. But you can also just, because it's kind of can be sometimes kind of hard to scroll through that. If you just hit audio, there are all the categories, and you can click a category, and there is category descriptions, including time lengths, and what the judges will be looking at, what considerations will be taken into account. Anything you need to know about a category is there. The same with video. You can go in here and learn everything you need to know about the categories. Now, let's go back to the home page here for a minute, because this is where things get tricky. Is some members or some people will not read all the way down. So, and especially if you have your student submissions, they sometimes, you know how they are, we will skim ahead. students or some of y'all who are on here, I apologize, but we know it's true. Some students do skim. Not saying that y'all do, but we do know that some students do skim. So one thing is very important here. If you are a CBI member, you need to, when you get here, you need to click log in as CBI member, which is right here in this corner. You got the big login and you got the smaller login. The smaller login is for specifically for CBI members. If you were to go up here and just enter your information here and hit login, as soon as you start adding entries, you're going to get the non-member fee. You do not want that. You want to be able to get the correct fees. If there's anybody on here from BEA who is a BEA member, you would log in with the regular login, but their BEA members have a discount code specifically for them for their competition. So once you get started, hit login as CBI member, and it'll give you this window where you enter your credentials as part of CBI. So your member login entry for how you access CBI to pay for convention, your membership fees, all of that is here. Okay, so I am now in, my name is here, and you can begin your application. If you were to go here to my applications, you can click here, or if you stay on the home page, you can just click here, the link, and you go into your application. So one thing to note, this is links to the CBI database, membership database. So that's how we were able to make sure you're members and give you the correct rec. But sometimes the information doesn't transfer over totally correctly. So please be sure to go in and put in the correct information, because if you get our finalists for awards, it helps us to be able to credit the correct organization, college, everything correctly. So make sure you're getting all that information there. The mailing address is important also if you become a winner or a finalist and are unable to make the convention. The awards are shipped to you, and so we need the proper mailing address for you to, in those cases, if you are unable to attend. But we want you to attend and grab that in person, because additionally, and this is one of the new rules this year, is that if you are unable to attend and you are a finalist, your trophy, you will be invoiced a shipping charge for us to send you the trophies. Unfortunately, it's just become as everything else, the inflation has caused is too much now for CBI just to be able to eat the costs on shipping the trophies to members who receive them. So please try to be there, and if you can't, be aware that we will. It'll be a one-time shipping charge, and we'll ship everything to you. But just know that that is a rule for this year. If you're unable to attend, then and you receive an award, you will be sent an invoice for those shipping charges. Once you filled out anything, so additionally, new for this year, so we got your address. We're asking you also to include your social media handles for your media outlet and your school. This is for publicity reasons, and also social media, the key to everything. With that, if you are a finalist for or and ultimately win during the competition, we will tag you on our social media, and so that you know if and then your those who cannot attend back home can attend, and then also your schools know that you have been named a finalist or named a winner in the competition. So if you don't have that information, or if your high schools, sometimes the high schools may not have a social media account or something like that, or you may not know it, or you maybe you're part of a video club and y'all don't specifically have a social media handle, just put not applicable in those areas, and we'll go on from there. And then so there's that. Here's the regular submission information. make sure you put in the name, you have your categories, and if you choose your categories, double check because this will also confirm what the um, specification for this specific entry is for this specific category. I'm getting tongue tied here. I'm talking too fast. Um, it'll confirm the eligibility window, um, licensing for ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and all the others, GMR. Make sure you have that. Um, length of entry and runtime. These sometimes will be similar, sometimes they will not be similar. If you have a program where you can submit something, but it's not the entire program, your length of entry will be what the specific entry length is, and the total runtime will be your overall runtime. So if you have a 2 hour program but only submit 10 minutes, then 10 and 2, 10 minutes, 2 hours, that's the submission time. Students, this is a big thing. It makes things convoluted when we're recognizing the students with certificates down the road. Is you do not have to put in job titles or position titles or anything like that. Just list your students. Um, we ask for no more than 10. If it's going to be more than 10, put a specific project or staff listing there. Um, we started this, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. Description. This is a requirement. Describe your entry. This helps the judges to have context, especially if you're doing something where you have multiple episodes, part of a series or something. This helps to know where your specific entry comes in terms of that um, submission, where it comes in terms of the series. They know what's come before, what it works like, and you can provide anything where sometimes for those film categories, I've entered films that came out of our 48-hour film challenge. So I like to mention, hey, this film was done in 48 hours. So take that in consideration. So that's where you would put that. Um, and then finally, part of the submission here is the uploading of entries. MP3 is the recommended file format for audio entries. Um, for video, it's MOV or MP4 with a 10 gig file size limit. But we actually, MOV and MP4, we will accept both. MP4 is kind of our preferred. Both are able to be a part of it. So just know that. Um, so there's your entry rules. One thing, and I mentioned this before, is if you log in and you get the entries and then you see that the charge is $80 instead of 25, that means you do not click the login as CBI member. So what you do, log out, click the login as CBI member, log back in through that portal, and it'll update the pricing changes. If it does not update the pricing changes, then you need to talk to Galen Perkins, CBI's secretary who handles membership. Talk to him because maybe your membership is out of date or there's some other issue there and he can help you out. So that's this process, and that's how the submissions get started. So one of the things I wanted to mention here is again paying attention to. Let me log out of here. There we go. The rules and guidelines. It's very specific on what eligible things. For example, only 2 entries from a media outlet per category. If you enter any more than those, anything else is going to be disqualified. And it doesn't matter if you would prefer something else. You put it in, and we're going to accept the first 2 entries. Everything else is going to be cut. So make sure that you're entering just 2 entries per category if you have 2 entries you want to submit. And then again, this a piece of work can only be entered in 1 category each contest year. So if you have a comedy show, for those of you who do TV and video, episode 1, it can only be entered in 1 category once. It cannot be entered in multiple categories. Professional or commercial announcers or professional voiceover talent are not eligible. So if you have professional announcers who call any broadcast that you do, those will not be eligible. It has to be student announcers who are doing that. Those are some of the big things. Check your make sure you got the formats, and then make sure descriptions. So a couple of things I want to point out on the descriptions this year. We've updated some. One is promo and PSA for both audio and video. Previously, last year, we had the increments of standard broadcast formats of 15, 30, 60. This year, entry is supposed to be 90 seconds or less. This is knowing that with our digital age, that with social media and stuff, we can post stuff that are not exactly 15, 30, 60, 90. Even though this may still be industry standard, because of social media, we want to be able to enter those submissions that fit those categories. So if it's on social media, it's eligible for this competition, for these categories. So 90 seconds or less on those categories. One of the others is that we specify, which we had a lot of problems with, specifically last year, and want to highlight best live video production. Last year we got a lot of entries where it was shot with multiple cameras, but it was edited together. Those cameras were edited together in post. That is not what we're looking for in this category. We were looking for true live or live to tape. So we've added the caveat that no editing is allowed on these submissions. So if you're doing live to tape, what you get come out and was broadcast, that is what we're looking for. If you're doing, and we want it with multiple cameras, but if you're recording with 3 separate cameras and then doing the multicam edit afterwards, that's not what we want for this competition. And let's see, make sure chats. Let's see if we have any questions here.
There's a few questions.
Okay.
First, we have Groot asking if the file name should be the same as the title or should have any special info like call letters or anything.
No, the file does not have to be the same name as the title entry. And so because sometimes when we're editing and the entries, we'll have short names for something. For example, we had a short film last year was how to be a cowboy or something, how to whatever, and we just called it Cowboy was the file name. That's what we uploaded. You do not need to have the file names or the call letter, because that's all on the submission form, and the judges don't need that for scoring.
Yeah, I know that there are other competitions that are using Google Forms, and then it will make sense for that. But like on the platform that we use, the judges are judging the entry that you submitted directly there with all the info. The next question is, can you enter different platform versions of the same story and their respective categories? Example, a student produces a TV package on story A and also produces a radio feature story for story A.
That's a tricky one. I would say no, because it's essentially the same image. If it's verbatim the same story, no. You just taking off the video from the audio. No, choose which category you want to put it in there.
Right.
So that is getting in. That's kind of looking for a loophole into the one entry per can only be submitted in one category. So that's where we want to keep it.
To add to that, so sorry, to add to that, I know that this will come up later because we do have a new category, right? Like it's radio station of the year and video channel of the year. Those tend to have a compilation of highlights of the station. Would that content be allowed as part of the video channel of the year and of radio station of the year? That's the only one that they can use some of the best, right?
Yes. The other would be if you have a news story that goes into the hard news or feature news reporting or sports reporting category that also happens to be part of a sports cast or also happens to be part of a newscast, those are eligible because they're a part of the bigger works.
The
So
next question is, would the board consider adding a category for produced videos of music performances? We have.
Buddy, you should have. Yes, we have added that this year. Let's go here to video. We have video best music production, and we also have best audio music production. You can go in here and see the information on those um, categories and what it takes to be eligible for those. This will hopefully, for those of you who produce music videos of bands and stuff, this will hopefully avoid the confusion of the best live production versus these kind of video music performances that are produced and then aired, but they're not technically live. So this is to help that. And then also we've had a lot of entries in the both the live production. I'm going to speak for the video side on the best live production and then also the general entertainment program. So this is allows us to put this category specifically now for those entries, and they don't have to say, okay, does this kind of fit general entertainment or live production? Where does it fit in? And the same for audio. Let me find it. There we go. Audio music. There's the information. Go in there, take a look. The other categories we added this year is audio and video interview. These are for those special interviews. I know a lot of radio stations, they may have an artist come in and they do a long format interview. This is for those, or video stations, if you have a long format interview as part of a program, this is where those would come in at. Again, you can go in and look at the criteria of those. They can be longer format. We ask that the entry be no more than 5 minutes, but that's where you can go in and do that. Now, and then lastly, our biggest new, and this is one that's been we've been considering for a while, is we have radio station of the year and video channel of the year. Those are our two big new categories. And there's a lot of information here on those. One of those things is that the entry forms for those are going to be also different than the regular entry forms. So what you have here is you're going to submit a 15-minute compilation of your best work during the eligibility period, up to 15 minutes. It can be shorter if you can do it in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, that's great. But you have 15 minutes to work with. Then you have 2-page summary of the station. Submit that in a PDF format. This will be a separate file upload as part of the entry process. And then you're going to provide information about whether you're online to terrestrial format, number of students, non-students involved, management structure. You can include list of accomplishments, fundraising, community service. The PDF, the 2-page summary is to kind of for you to brag about your station. Tell us about your station, what's great about it, why it deserves this award. And then we'll also look at in addition to the compilation and the 2-page summary, is your website and at least one social media platform. So if there's one platform that you are dedicated to more or think works best, such as Instagram, I know most students tend to do that nowadays. You would include those as part of the mix, and then we would have judges look at all that together. So it's looking at the whole entire big picture of your station, what you do on air, off air, how you present yourself, how you engage and interact with your audience, whether it's on the website, social media, through call-ins, however you interact with your audience, whatever that audience may be, that is how we work through this and what we're going to be looking at.
And I
And I
think
know
that gives you like also the option to discuss how with 25 people, you're doing all this great work. I know that there were questions as we were going through the process of building this category about how do you compare my 25 students versus your 874, right? It's a new category. We review the categories every year. So if we all of a sudden have 40 entries for Radio Station of the Year, and in those 40 entries, there is a clear definition of like smaller operation, like smaller schools, right? Like under 10,000, over 10,000. We can address that as we see what we get from people. As a new category, this supplemental info would allow you to really say how resourceful you are with maybe less people or maybe less of a budget. And so I think that it levels the playing field for everybody.
Question of, does the radio station of the year package need to be audio or can it be video? For this, so we're trying to, as best we can, compare apples to apples, it would be strictly audio. The usually where video comes in, and I may be wrong on this, but for most of the what I've seen is most radio stations when they're doing video, it tends to be stuff that can be put on social and goes for the social media, even though some of y'all do or is on the website. So that's where you would specify, and I would specify that in the summary is like we also do video recordings of our bands that come in. You can find those on our website and then have them go in and look at your website of where those video recordings are at, and that would be taken into account. But primarily thinking of the compilation as your best on-air material, your best DJs, your best promos, your best PSAs, podcasts, anything like that would be what we're looking for radio station here. And the same would go for video channel of the year, looking at what you're publishing on air and stuff. A couple of things we also want to highlight. We made some slight wording changes to regular scheduled entertainment program, talking about what we are looking for and what we're not looking for. So take a look at that. And before, for both video and audio, regular scheduled entertainment program on audio side and the general entertainment program have kind of become this catch-all. And in some ways, that is what it's designed to be, is somewhat of a catch-all, but it's supposed to be open to those productions, those works that you produce that don't fit into any of the other specific categories. So on the video side, general entertainment, if you have a comedy series, you're going to put that in comedy, not necessarily general entertainment. So general entertainment is for those productions, for those material that don't fit into a specific category that we've already predetermined. So because that's when the judges look at that, if they see the comedy, like, okay, this kind of belongs in the comedy category, or regular entertainment, if you're putting in a music performance, they're like, okay, that kind of goes into the music performance category, not necessarily the regular scheduled entertainment program.
As
So
someone who's judged this, that's the problem in judging. You used to have a video production versus like a Netflix type drama, and that is not apples to apples.
So a couple of other things we want to talk about is what are some of the common mistakes that we run into. So one is putting your work into entries into the right categories, which is where hopefully we've re-edited some of the categories. So really make sure to check the categories, is making sure that you see what is and what is not what we're looking for in a specific category. Timing. That is one of the biggest problems and biggest reasons that entries get disqualified, is they're not meeting the time requirements. They're either over, and we try to look at it because the platform is not exactly precise. It's not going down to the exact frame on video or the exact second on audio. So we look at things, but if our entry is no longer than 30 minutes and it's 31 minutes or 30 minutes and 10 seconds, we're going to disqualify it. If the submissions for PSA or promo are 92 seconds, that's going to be disqualified. So please keep that in mind. Please pay attention to the um, time limits, the time requirements, because that is probably the biggest area where we end up disqualifying entries. Um, let's see what else. The other part is scoped versus non-scoped, or scoped versus continuous entries. There are some entries, pay attention, that we want the segments to be continuous. We want however long we want from beginning to end, one continuous block, no breaks, no editing. Whereas others, we will accept scoped material where you can go in and pick out the best of your entry. Um, if let me make sure I remember correctly here. I think special broadcast. This can be scoped material. So you have 10 minutes, but you can go through an entry and find the material and get the best of. Whereas alternatively, sports play by play, we want consecutive continuous minutes, not scoped material. So that is where we get the other big disqualifications is um, people not paying attention there and they enter something inadvertently and it gets disqualified. So please try to avoid that. Those are the big things. And then just also just stuff's not in the right category, or are you submitting too many entries into a category? This sometimes can happen depending on if you've got several people submitting for you, if the advisors are not doing the submissions process and the students are, and maybe they're not talking to each other. That'll happen, and that'll get in there. We'll get something that's multiple entries.
We have one
Question.
question.
Yeah,
Can
can timing be
timing, yep,
be less than what it's asked? Like if it's asked for 3 minutes, could it be submitted? That's 2:30. Yes. If it says no longer than 10, for example, best sports play, if it says no longer than 10 minutes, as long as it's not over 10 minutes, you can, if you have 1 minute play by play, I don't know if you want to do that, but you could conceivably do that. If 5 minutes, if for the reporting, I think it's 3 minutes or 5 minutes, you submit 2:30. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. As long as you're within the time range and you don't go over. We have some rules for like documentary long form and documentary short form. Documentary long form is between 10 and 30 minutes. If it's less than 10 minutes, it needs to be in the short form category. If it's over 30 minutes, it gets disqualified. If it's anywhere in between, if it's 10 minutes and 30 seconds, that's it. For best audio video, should that be edited to multiple questions only? Because sometimes the answers to good questions take a while. Let's go look at that category here. Audio interview. This is new. So no longer than 5 minutes. It doesn't say you doesn't specifically say that you can't. It has to be continuous as long as it's no minute. So I guess you could technically edit it. We're not saying you can't edit it down as long as it's no longer than 5 minutes. So if you get a longer thing, but you have 5 minutes, that's your entry length there.
and also, as someone who, like, my students come and talk to me, I would include the intro to that interview, right? Like introducing your subject for the judges to know who you're talking to is so key to give them that context. It also shows the skill of preparation of the student. So that will play out in how, the judges go through the interview.
So, and really, we've tried to be as specific as we can with the category descriptions and really try to preemptively answer your questions on this stuff. So if you don't, if you have a question like that for the audio interviews, for example, it doesn't say that it can't be edited. So then you're okay. And yeah, if we didn't specify it can't be, or that it has to be continuous and can't be scoped, you're good. But we've tried to anticipate that and try to get that everywhere. And here's the thing, if you're totally unsure and if just want a peace of mind, email me at awards@askcbi.org. I'm going to type that into the chat here. Um, email me and I'll answer your question.
Okay. We have about 15 minutes. We do want to take questions, but very quickly, the confirmation process is when you submit everything, you get an email with your submissions, basically. The judging timeline, it's usually done through June, July, and then the announcement of finalists is in August, in time for you to meet our early bird deadlines. And then the notification process is done through video. We put a video on YouTube. We announce it on our socials. That way you can all gather up like my students do. Maybe have some pizza and see if you're a nominee. In terms of roles for advisors, Chris, you've done this for a long time. So is there any specific roles that you would, suggest for them? I mean, personally, I let them pick up whatever they're doing and just show it to me. And I may be like, hey, like, why did you put a phoner first? That instantly like loses like a bunch of aura points, as the students say. Anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, of the types of things that my station typically enters, there's not a lot of decision to be made, So I do oversee the editing a little bit. I don't conduct the editing, but I do listen to it before we upload because I did run into a student one time who did not understand that they cannot add all kinds of things in after the fact. They can't take a DJ show and make it sound 10 times better than it actually was. And I don't want to be the guy who's submitting stuff like that unknowingly. So I do listen. I guess I just think the biggest thing is what Stephen has already said, is making sure that you read the categories all the way through.
Right.
Yeah, and that would be the thing. On entries you submit, it's as originally broadcast, originally aired, originally produced for a class. No editing afterwards, after it's done and published or whatever. When it's finally ready to go, that's it. No going back and tweaking things afterwards. For the best DJ, it can be both. It can be a mix of both. Whatever the DJ is, if they do a talk show or music or whatever, however they do it, it can be a mix, and usually the best ones are a mix of both. But do remember, but also here's this, because this is where some DJs get in trouble, and this is also true for, I've seen this in the regular scheduling entertainment program. If you have a specialty, well, if you're doing a music show, make sure you're just doing, if you've been taught properly, you're just doing the intros and outros of the songs, and then you're doing whatever the DJ does on air. But also, if you have a specialty show, a specialty music show, so maybe you do classical soundtracks of movies or something. That's your thing. You're not going to play, when you submit your entry, you are not going to play the entire songs, because that defeats the purpose, and that's not what you would do. The ins and outs, the same thing as you would for the DJ for that. That would probably be the only category I would say where you might do some editing on there, because we don't want the songs in there, because the songs can be 3, 4, 5 minutes long, and they eat up all the time, and that doesn't help with what we're trying to get across. Any other questions? What other questions might you have? Or for those of you like Jamie and Chris and John and them, some of y'all who have been here before, y'all won some awards, and y'all, any advice you want to chime in that I might not have hit on?
My advice is, I have allergies. My advice is to start early. Don't start collecting your stuff on May 10th. I work with my students and have them submit things by May 1st, which then gives me like 15 days to put everything together. And then what's also fun is that I also submit things to the CMA Pinnacle Awards, but I already have all the stuff. And so then everyone else is scrambling from my department. I'm like, oh, I've been done for like 2 weeks. So just start early because I mean, what if something happens and you end up getting locked out of your account? Steven will help you, but it'd be cooler if he could help you 3 days earlier.
Yeah, and I'm on the East Coast, and so seeing that the deadline is on a Thursday night, I have to work the next morning, so I will probably be going to bed before the deadline hits at midnight specific. But I'm talking about my kid used to say as a kid, Pacific time. So yes, and as John just put in the chat, yes, it is midnight Pacific time, and so I will not be up at 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, making sure everything is correct. As the deadlining approaches at 11:59 or 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, that platform will shut down, and anything that's not submitted or even if you're in the process of submitted, it's going to shut down and not let you enter. So get it in before the deadline. If it doesn't, unless there is some kind of massive error or some kind of problem with the platform itself, unless there's some exceptional reason, it's not getting entered.
I will
So
say that one of the things that happens to me is the PayPal does not like me for CBI at all. So if I am entering something on that day at the last minute, I might need help in making that payment. And I have like SOS, it's not happening. So keep that in mind. If you get like, oh, you need to register, my school doesn't allow us to have an account with PayPal to pay bills. So I need to like just pay it with a credit card. And sometimes to me, I don't know why it doesn't like me. It doesn't give me the option. It just says you need to create an account. I'm like, hello, please help.
So yeah, those are some of the things that were. So if you're trying to pay online, if it, and this I would say, if you get to the point and you're submitting and the PayPal thing is not working, you're having problems submitting, or it's trying to force you to make a created account and not just check out as a guest. That's one of those things I would back up and punt and do the purchase order or check email option. You have a week to get that processed or get it postmarked so it gets out. Hopefully that would be enough time. I know some colleges that it's not enough time and it takes much longer to do that. But hopefully y'all can get that's the option. But that's the kind of things. If you run into a problem, also just start emailing me as soon as possible. If I don't get back to you, if I've gone to bed the night before or whatever, I don't get back to you immediately. No, I will get back to you as soon as I can the next day. So just know that.
The other thing is, I know I've been talking to a number of high school students, and the question sometimes is, can we compete with colleges? So I just wanted to get it on the record, Stephen. There is precedent
you
that high
can.
schools have won against colleges.
Yes, they have. We've had a couple of, I think it's twice in the past 3 years that a high school won the podcast category. So if you're from a high school, know that you can compete and succeed there. And hopefully, if you're from high school, we'll get some more high school entries over time, and we can create your high school specific categories. But right now, we just don't have the numbers to meet that goal. So, but yes, the high school can compete against college and win. So, any other questions we might have?
Feel free to unmute if that's easier because we have like 5 minutes left. All right, I don't think we have any other questions in this chat. As always, like I have a student here who has a question. What's your question?
My question is like editing wise, like what do you look for with like the presets? Like like hard limiter, normalized,
Oh,
things like.
They're asking
that.
specific like production questions in terms of like how limiter, like what are you looking for? Like, is there compression, yada yadas.
Um, that's difficult to say. I mean, I would say within reason, we don't want anything overproduced. But also we don't want anything that's underproduced as well. I mean, you have the tools, you have the to do them. We don't want anything that I would say would cause question into the authenticity of a production. That raises the question: was this done by AI versus students producing? So if you're using compression limiters, that's fine. You would do that normally as part of the broadcast or whatever stories or programs, PSAs, promos, whatever you're doing, you would do that. Go about doing that the same. Um, Sometimes it's hard to put a finger on. You should do exactly this because we have different judges each year, and sometimes the different judges pick up on different things and they look at different things. So
Yeah.
we're trying to get it consistent across the board, and we've got them criteria for them to judge on, and some of the criteria, or really the criteria we're looking at is on the um, descriptions we put in what's being looked at. So take a look at that. But I can't tell you the nitpicky because some judges really take that into account and some may not take that as much into account. So, so I can't
Right.
be more specific about that. So.
Yeah, I mean, and this is something that happens commonly with our morning show. They're on video, but our version of video goes into a streaming platform, and there is no lower thirds. If they submit that, the feedback is going to be, where's your lower third, right? So like, I'm like, let's just don't do that if you're going to submit for video, because that's, generally they're going to be like, well, that's it. We're not even looking at this as a potential contender for a finalist. Okay, so if you guys have questions, awards@cbi.org is the question, the email, and then tomorrow we begin. Like, submission period is very exciting. No joke here. It's no joke, no April Fool's Day, but no joke. It does take a lot of effort. If you yourself want to judge, please go ahead and email Stephen. You can judge categories that your school does not submit an entry for. So we're always looking for people who can, assist with that. And I think that's
With
it.
6 new categories, we need extra judges this year.
Yeah, we have 6. Yeah, we have 6 categories. That is a lot more for this year. So if you are a radio and you don't have a lot of video and you want to judge some video, or if you have colleagues that may be good fits for some of these categories, please send them our way.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. Feel free to email me if you got some questions.